what codependency is. How do we define it? And how do you know you're in a codependent relationship?
This is exactly what I'm writing my second book about right now.
That's awesome.
So, codependency, my definition is that you're overly invested in the feeling states, the situations, the outcomes, the circumstances of the people in your life to the detriment of your own internal peace or your own financial or physical or emotional well-being. So, for clarity, we're all mothers, lovers, aunties, friends. Of course, we're invested in the happiness of our people, right? That we love them. We want them to be happy, obviously. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being overly invested, meaning the moment your best friend calls you within a crisis, that crisis is your crisis, right? You are now Googling, you are now making phone calls, you are now canceling plans to, you're underlining stuff in a book. You're literally taking it on as your own. In order to be able to figure out, like, am I or am I not, it's really about checking your urgency around other people's situations. When I had a full-on private therapy practice, I noticed that if I would say to my therapy clients, oh, hey, what you're describing is a codependent dynamic, they would immediately be like, no, lady, wrong. I'm not dependent on squat. Everyone's dependent on me. I'm making all the dough. I'm the rock in my family. What are you talking about? And I realized, like, oh, my clients don't know what codependency is. So I actually coined a new phrase, which is what the book is about, which is called high functioning codependency. And as soon as I did it, because that was my style of codependency,
Yep.
and that was the same with my clients, So what that is that you're doing all the things for all the people, but you're so highly capable. You just freaking make it look easy. So people are like, she's got it. I don't have to worry about Mindy. She's always fine. She's fine. Yeah, she'll do it. She's fine.
Interesting. So how do you know, like, as a doctor, there is a deep desire often to really see your patients like thrive. There definitely is, like, I want to see you be the best version of yourself possible. And so sometimes I've noticed in 25 years of practice that there is self-worth that comes from being the hero of the day. I don't know another way to say that.
Yep.
Or pointing somebody in a direction where all of a sudden they light up, or they see something different, or they come to a new level of health. And it's like, you could say that's codependent, but you could also say, but it gives me value. It gives me worth. How do you know the difference?
Well, let's make a distinction, because what you're talking about, because I'm very much the same way, of course. I've had a private practice for 25 years.
Yep.
We are natural born helpers.
Yep.
There's a part of us that we're just there, and there are zillions of people out there, and I'm sure many in your audience are the same. So we have to make the distinction between helping and unhealthy helping. Right? Like there's a difference. And the first thing I always say to people when they're like, I don't know if I'm codependent or not, I always say, let's do a resentment inventory. Because if you're feeling resentment, for folks, I can tell you that you're most likely something is happening that's creating that resentment. Either a boundary is being crossed, or you're not verbalizing a boundary, or a need of yours is going unmet. So part of it is looking at your resentment, but also looking at how do you feel because here's the thing with being a codependent, like auto advice giver, let's just say.
Yeah, I saw. I love that auto accommodation was another one. I was like, that's a really good phrase.
That will all be in the book. Auto accommodate. Anyway, let me finish this and then do that, because that is actually. And these are some of these things, literally, Mindy, only coming to me in my, this is like my 40s. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not like, even though I had the insight into being a high functioning codependent in my late 20s, early 30s, some of these, these are persistent behavioral patterns that we're in recovery from these things, the same way you would be any other addiction. You know what I mean?
Right.
So back to, you said, how do you know if you're codependently relating to others? How do you feel when your friend comes, you give her amazing advice, you tell her the book to read, the place to go, you hook her up with the person, and she doesn't do those things. But she also wants to now complain about the same crap that she was complaining about the last time you spoke to her and the time before that, right?
Yeah, I have a few friends like that.
Does that feel good?
Yeah. So what do you do? It's you just set your boundary and
stop giving advice.
Stop giving advice. Yeah.
Because here's the thing. This is what we're doing. When we are auto advice giving, if that's our first step, someone comes to us and they're in pain and we're like, I know what you should do. We are literally inserting ourselves as the solution to their problem. We are centering that person's thing on us rather than I mean, that's kind of presumptuous when you think about it. Like, we literally think we know. And trust me,
Right.
I'm a recovering high functioning codependent, and I still think I know half the time, but at least
Yeah.
I have control over myself, so I'm not giving the unasked for advice or criticism.
Yeah.
And even if it's asked, instead of giving your answer, the first stop should always be, well, let's just start with what you think. What do you think you should do?
When you ask them, you flip it on them.
Yes. When they go, I'm in this situation, I'm in so much pain, you say, what do you think you should do?
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me. I don't know, actually, but I have faith that you're going to figure it out. Like, it's literally decentering ourselves. Because here's the truth. You actually don't know, even if you think you do. Now, I'm not saying as a medical doctor or as a psychotherapist, yeah, do I know that somebody shooting heroin is bad? Yeah, I do. I feel like we can both agree as health professionals.
Right.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our personal lives, and even in our professional lives, right? You chose a profession and so did I. It's, the highest form of like the psychological defense mechanisms is sublimation. So we take our desire to control the world and we go into, and to help everyone and to feel responsible for everyone, we go into professions where it's appropriate for us to guide others. And that's a very high functioning defense. Rather than controlling the crap out of everything, we actually went into profession. So we're allowed to do it, and we can get that satisfaction helping someone get healthier, helping someone get out of an abusive relationship, or whatever the thing is. But we have to be really mindful and be discerning when it comes to our lives.